Sup guys, it's Alex here, and welcome to a new bracketology update. This one is for January 21st, as you can see up there. And after another crazy weekend of college basketball where 3 out of the top 5 teams lost, Duke ended up losing at home to Louisville. I think Butler lost to Villanova on the road, I want to say. Either that, I think they might be playing tonight. I can't remember who Butler ended up losing to. Oh, it was DePaul, I think. And then Auburn ended up losing to Florida after losing. I think they had lost a game earlier in the week, too. I think it was to Alabama, which ended their undefeated streak going throughout the season. But we are back with a new bracketology update. I'm sorry that this one's going out late. It's actually like 8:30, somewhere around there. I don't know why the computer says 9:30. But on Tuesdays, I'm probably going to be releasing the bracketologies this late, so probably around 9 Eastern time. Then Fridays, they should probably be around like 7, 8 o'clock, somewhere around there. Sorry for the late uploads and stuff, but I've been at work and we've been staying late because it's busy season and all that stuff. But anyway, up here in the South Regional, we have Baylor remaining the number 1 overall. Then Stanford is down to an 8. Florida's up to a 9 after beating Auburn. Iowa's up to a 5. Auburn's down to a 4. As I mentioned earlier, they lost to both Alabama and Florida this past week. North Texas is new to the field as a 13 seed. Michigan's down to a 6 after losing again this weekend. I can't remember who it was to, but I'm pretty sure they ended up losing. That's why they are down. St. Mary's is down to an 11. Butler's down to a 3 after going on a 2-game losing streak of their own. Then Wichita State's down to a 7 after they lost again, too. I think theirs was to Houston this past weekend. Then Northern Iowa's up to a 10. Dayton's up to a 2, continuing their great run. They had that buzzer-beating shot against St. Louis to stay where they were, then to move up. Then San Diego State is now up to a 1 seed. They're the only remaining team left in the Division I that has not lost a game. Murray State's down to a 16. Creighton's down to an 8. The playing game, as you can see there, is VCU and Georgetown. Then we got Colgate up to a 13. Seton Hall with Miles Powell is up to a 3. William & Mary's down to a 14. Then we got Indiana down to a 10. Duke falls off the 1 line after losing to Louisville. And then Little Rock is new to the field as a 15. And up here in the top right regional, the West, we have Kentucky, who is now up to a 5. I know they were down to a 6 after they lost to South Carolina, but they got a decently big road win against Arkansas, even though John Calipari got thrown out, so now they're up to a 5. And then Oregon's down to a 4. Those two teams just can't get away from each other in the bracketology, it seems like. Rutgers is continuing their surprise run. They are up to a 6 seed now. West Virginia falls to a 3. Stony Brook is new to the field as a 14. LSU is up to a 7. Florida State's up to a 2. Then down here in the Midwest Regional for Indianapolis, where I'll be attending, I haven't decided if it's both the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, but I'll definitely be attending one of those two, most likely the Elite 8. Kansas is the number 1 seed there. Arkansas is down to an 8. Penn State's down to a 9. Arizona's up to a 5. The playing game, as you can see right there, is Purdue and Virginia Tech. Ohio State is down to a 6. USC is new to the field as an 11 seed. Louisville is up to a 3 after going on the road and beating Duke. Houston's up to a 7 after going on the road and beating Wichita State. NC State is up to a 10, and then North Dakota State's new to the field as a 15. So go and check out the bubble real quick. Last 4 byes are BYU, St. Mary's, Oklahoma, and NC State. Last 4 in are Virginia Tech, Purdue, VCU, and Georgetown. First 4 out are Minnesota, Alabama, DePaul, and Virginia. The defending national champions are now falling further out of the field. I know they ended up losing again this past weekend. I think it was to NC State at home. That's why NC State's up to a 10 seed. And then the next 4 out are Washington, Xavier, Mississippi State, and Richmond, as you can see right there. Then I'll go ahead and do a little something right here. The Big Ten has 14 teams in their league, and 11 of them are projected to make the tournament right now, which is just absolutely crazy. 11 out of 14 teams, and just 11 as a whole, which is insane. So as you guys know, every time there's a bracketology that comes out, I go on this Excel document and kind of go game by game, region by region, and just show you guys who I think would end up winning. Since Brackify got shut down, I know I've been getting a couple comments recently about why I'm not going on Brackify for you guys who are just now returning that the college football season's over. Brackify ended up getting shut down, so now I'm just doing Excel sheets for now just because it's the easiest way to kind of show you guys my picks by bracket, and it's a nice visual. It doesn't have the logos and stuff, but I mean, it's the best I can work with right now. So up first, we got Baylor and the winner of Robert Morris and Texas Southern. Obviously, it's going to be Baylor that ends up winning that one. Stanford and Florida. I'm actually going to go with Kerry Blackshear and Florida winning that one. The 9/8, a slight upset pick. Iowa and East Tennessee State. East Tennessee State's one of my favorite mid-major teams right now, but Iowa's been really impressive to me over the past couple weeks. They are now up to a 5 seed, and Luke Garza, I know, had a question last bracketology about who that star player was for Iowa. He has been leading them to some victories here, and I think they'll be able to get the victory over East Tennessee State. Auburn, I think, will beat North Texas. Michigan, I think, with Juwan Howard, will beat Jack Ford and St. Mary's. Butler will beat UC Irvine. Then I think that Wichita State will beat Northern Iowa, though this gap has definitely closed over the past couple weeks. Wichita State has not looked as impressive as they did before these past couple of weeks. They've been kind of on a losing streak and just haven't been looking too impressive. And Northern Iowa is actually doing pretty good as the representative of the Missouri Valley Conference. They're actually up to a 10, which is kind of like an at-large spot. So we'll kind of see what happens with that. But either way, I like Wichita State there, though that could change easily in the next couple of weeks. Dayton would be up to a 2. Then I'll go ahead and finish this regional right here. Baylor, I think, will beat Florida. Then I'm actually going to go with Iowa upsetting Auburn here, a 5-over-4. Auburn has not been looking good recently. I know I hadn't been picking him to move far originally, and then people were complaining, so I moved him a little bit further. But I was right. Their cracks are starting to show, and that's why I have them losing to Iowa in the second round. Then I think that Butler will be able to beat Michigan. That's probably one of the most favorable matchups Butler can get right there in the second round. Then I think that Dayton's going to beat Wichita State. And for a spot in the Elite Eight, we got Baylor beating Iowa. Then we're also going to have Dayton beating Butler. I know these are 3 out of the 4 teams I had in my last Final Four. Actually, I can't remember if I had Butler in there last time. I think I did. But this was my championship game from the last bracketology I did on Friday. Baylor versus Dayton. And I honestly got to go with the same team that I had winning it all last time. I got to go with Baylor. Baylor took care of business on Saturday, and Dayton had that buzzer beater against St. Louis. But Dayton's been super impressive. Having a run to the Elite Eight for the Dayton Flyers program is great business either way. Then up next we have the bottom left regional. We got San Diego State beating Murray State. That one's kind of an easy pick. Then Creighton, I think, will fall to Chris Beard and Texas Tech. Chris Beard knows how to take his teams far in the NCAA tournament, as we saw last year when they made it to the national championship game. Colorado, I think, will beat the winner of VCU and Georgetown, which I think would be Georgetown. Maryland will beat Colgate. I really don't like this matchup here. I just can't get behind either of these two teams, Wisconsin and Oklahoma. I got to go with Wisconsin here just because they have the more impressive set of victories this season, but I really don't like either team this season. Then Miles Powell and Seton Hall will move on past William and Mary. Memphis, I think, will be Indiana. Memphis is still hanging on there after losing James Wiseman. They're still hanging on to a decent spot in the tournament, and then Duke right there will win against Little Rock. That one's pretty obvious. So then if we go up, actually I'll keep it down here. I don't know why I was scrolling forward there. So up next we have San Diego State and Texas Tech. I think San Diego State's going to end up winning that one. I don't have any reason to root against them there, especially with Texas Tech going up against them as a 9 seed. Then Maryland, I think, will beat Colorado with Anthony Cowan. As I was making this video, I think Maryland was losing to Northwestern like 48-40, something like that. But I think they'll be able to end up winning that game. Don't quote me on that when you watch this and the game's already over. But I think they'll be able to do that. Then I think that Seton Hall will beat Wisconsin. That one's not going to be too tough. Duke, I think, will take care of business against Memphis. Then Maryland, I think, will actually pull off the upset here against San Diego State. I know I may be disrespecting San Diego State here, but they don't have too good of a collection of victories so far this season. And until I can see more out of them, or maybe if they keep beating teams and go undefeated closer to the NCAA tournament, kind of like Wichita State a few years ago, I'm going to go with Maryland getting the victory there, even though I just picked the blank space. There we go, getting Maryland. Then Duke versus Seton Hall. I really want to pick Seton Hall winning this one with Miles Powell. So you know what? I will. Duke has not been looking pretty impressive recently. I know they ended up losing to Clemson last week, and then they ended up losing at home to Louisville too, and they just don't have a go-to guy whenever Vernon Carey starts getting into trouble. Trey Jones has taken like 31 shots in the last couple games, which are both losses. So that kind of tells you something right there. But for a spot in the Final Four, I'm actually going to go with Miles Powell and Seton Hall. That team hasn't lost since December 14th. They've been hanging in there, and I'm actually going to put them in the Final Four, which is pretty crazy for that program. Really like them, especially if Miles Powell can stay hot. Then up next, we have the top right regional. I can't remember which one it is. I want to say the West. Then we got Gonzaga beating Princeton. Marquette with Marcus Howard beating Illinois, though no shame for Illinois making it into the tournament as a 9 seed. Kentucky will be Akron. Oregon, I think, will be New Mexico State. Then as much as I want to pick Rutgers here, I just got to go with the track record and not pick them to move on into the next round, especially when they're going up against my favorite mid-major team so far this season in Liberty. Liberty got the upset last year. I think it was a 12-5 over Mississippi State. I think they get another upset here. Then West Virginia is going to beat Stony Brook. LSU, I think, will take care of business against BYU, and then Florida State will beat Winthrop. Then we have Gonzaga beating Marquette. As much as I want to pick Marquette and Marcus Howard moving on right there, I know I picked them to move on past Kansas and a couple of bracketologies ago. I got to go with Gonzaga. They're a really impressive team so far and beat Santa Clara, who's actually a pretty emerging team, by 50 points last week, so that was pretty impressive, I do have to say. Then Kentucky and Oregon, as I mentioned earlier, these two teams just cannot get away from each other in the bracketology. And as much as I want to pick Kentucky right there with my hometown team, Big Blue Nation, I got to go with Oregon with Peyton Pritchard. I think that he can lead them to a victory as he did against Washington. Then West Virginia. So don't anybody say that I'm a homer with Big Blue Nation. Then I'm actually going to go with an upset pick right here. I'm going to go with the 11 seed Liberty Flames over the 3 seed West Virginia Mountaineers. West Virginia, I haven't been able to really understand why they've been doing so good this season. I know they've been coming down to earth in the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to go with Liberty pulling off the huge upset there. Then Florida State, I think, will be LSU. Gonzaga, I think, will be Oregon. I know I'm kind of going with chalk here in this bracket regional, except with the Liberty pick. Then I'm going to go with Florida State beating Liberty. Then I'm going to go with Gonzaga. I think these two teams played in the tournament last year. Don't quote me on that. But I'm going to go with Gonzaga and end up winning that one. Either way, I think Gonzaga... Actually, I can't remember if Gonzaga won, so don't quote me on that either. I don't know what I'm thinking. So down here in the bottom right regional, we have Kansas beating the winner of Monmouth and Norfolk State. That one won't matter. Arkansas, I think, will beat Penn State. I was pretty high on Penn State earlier in the season, but they just have not been showing up to work these past couple of weeks. Then Purdue, I think the winner of the Purdue-Virginia Tech game can upset Arizona. Purdue destroyed Michigan State earlier this season, and I think Virginia Tech also beat Michigan State in the Maui Invitational earlier this season. I think they can get the job done against Arizona there in a 12-5 upset. Then Villanova will beat Seton Hall. Ohio State, they've been falling recently. I think they've lost like 5 out of their last 6 games, which is not very good at all. I think they get the victory there, though, against USC, because I just can't really get behind USC this season. Louisville, I think, will beat Wright State. NC State, I think, will beat Houston in a 10-7 upset, and then Michigan State will beat San Diego State. Up here, then, we have Kansas versus Arkansas and Arkansas. I got to go with Kansas winning that one. They're just a more talented team. Villanova, I think, will beat Purdue, though I can easily see an upset pick right there, especially with Purdue beating Villanova last year in the tournament. Louisville, I think, won't struggle too much with Ohio State. Michigan State, I think, will be NC State. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, Kansas and Villanova, these two teams seem to have a knack for finding each other in the NCAA tournament as well. I'm going to go with Kansas winning that one. Then I'm also going to go with Louisville, kind of doing a 3-2 upset pick right there over Michigan State. Michigan State just hasn't been able to find too much consistency recently, and I think Louisville will be able to get the job done there, especially after they went on the road and beat Duke. But then I'm going to go with Kansas beating Louisville. I know I'm kind of going with 3 number 1 seeds in the Final Four, but I'm going to go with the more talented team there, and then Louisville kind of struggles when Jordan Nwora has a horrible game. They were able to beat Duke this past weekend, but I think that may have been a one-off. So up next, we have a spot in the national championship game, Baylor and Seton Hall. I'm actually going to go with Miles Powell and Seton Hall. Why not let it fly with an upset pick on our last bracketology? I had Baylor winning that one. Why not switch it up and go Miles Powell and Seton Hall? They haven't lost since December 14th. Might as well go with them right there. Then Gonzaga, I think, will beat Kansas, which sets up Seton Hall and Gonzaga in the national championship game. And as much as I want to continue Seton Hall's miracle run to the national championship game, I got to go with Gonzaga winning that one. They've just been a really good team overall this season, and I think they'll get the job done in the national championship game. So, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did. I'll be giving more details out on the NCAA tournament ticket giveaway near the beginning of February, which means I'll be giving out an NCAA tournament ticket if we hit 5,000 subscribers by the time the tournament starts, so keep an eye out for that. Let me know what you guys think of the bracketology and your own predictions below. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all later.